I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads a blasphemous name. Welcome to the Revelation 13 podcast.
Jesus left the temple and was walking away when his disciples came up to him to call his attention to its buildings. "Do you see all these things?" he asked. "I tell you the truth. Not one stone here will be left on another. Every one will be thrown down." As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. "Tell us," they said, "when will this happen? What will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?" Jesus answered, "Watch out that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, claiming, 'I am the Christ,' and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death. And you will be hated by all nations because of me. At that time many will turn away from the faith, and will betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear, and deceive many people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. But he who stands firm to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. So when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation, spoken of through the prophet Daniel, let the leader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let no one on the roof of his house go down to take anything out of the house. Let no one in the field go back to get his cloak. How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Pray that your flight will not take place in winter or on the Sabbath. For then there will be great distress, unequaled from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equaled again. If those days had not been cut short, no one would survive, but for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. At that time, if anyone says to you, 'Look, here is the Christ,' or 'There he is,' do not believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and miracles to deceive even the elect, if that were possible. See, I have told you ahead of time. So if anyone tells you, 'There he is, out in the desert,' do not go out, or 'Here he is, in the inner rooms,' do not believe it. For as lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Wherever there is a carcass, there the vultures will gather. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. At that time the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the nations of the earth will mourn. They will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of the sky, with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the 4 winds, from one end of the heavens to the other. Now learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. Even so, when you see all these things, you know that it is near, right at the door. I tell you the truth, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. No one knows about that day or hour, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. For in the days before the flood, people were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, up to the day Noah entered the ark. And they knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came and took them all away. That is how it will be at the coming of the Son of Man.
Hello and welcome to the Revelation 13 podcast. The verses you just heard were from Matthew 24. The disciples of Jesus were asking him several questions, and some of which Christians are still asking today. Now, firstly, they were concerned with when the temple would be destroyed, and then they wanted to know the signs of his coming, the end of the age. Jesus then goes into an overview of events of the end. And when you look at the prophecy given in the Bible, and virtually any prophecy, it's not always exclusive to one set of events or time period. Prophecy can have layers. Jesus is giving a prophetic word to the people of that present time, to the people throughout the ages, and to the people of the last generation. The warning Jesus gave of fleeing to the mountains saved virtually all the Christians in Judea when the Romans destroyed the temple and drove the Jews out of Israel in 70 AD. But when you look at the prophetic verses in the book of Daniel, which Jesus is referencing, Daniel was not talking about the destruction of the temple and dispersion of the Jews. He was referencing the Antichrist in the time of the end. But the prophecy had relevance to both situations. So people throughout time have tried to pin down the timing of the events that Jesus and the prophet spoke of. And every time there was a great persecution of the Christians. Some would think that they were in the tribulation, and this occurred from when Christianity started, especially at the time of Nero, through the Inquisitions and into later times. But as we entered modern times, people started attributing the tribulation to specific years with dates, and to this point, all the predetermined dates have been wrong. Now 2012 is the new date of interest, but this year may be the year a significant event occurs. 2012's chances of being a historic event in Bible prophecy does not seem to stem from one particular source. Rather, it's the fact that there are many sources converging around this year. And for Christians, the only reliable source for studying the end times is the Bible. The Bible is infallible in its prophecies of the end. But it's man's interpretation of the prophecies that can be wrong. And the Bible rarely gives a specific time and date in prophecy, mainly because I believe God does not work on a linear time scale. I don't believe he works on specific dates. Rather, he works in response to events. In other words, the end times are marked and driven by events, not by a date on the calendar. Having said that, what makes 2012 a date of interest to a Christian, since the specific date of the rapture or tribulation is not directly mentioned. 2012 is a date of interest because of the direction of world events surrounding that year. A lot of interest has swirled around the Mayan calendar and the date that the calendar ends on, December 21st, 2012. But the calendar's beginning are just as fascinating. The calendar's starting point is August 13th, 3114 BC, supposedly the day when the gods came from the sky to the earth and gave them the calendar and other skills. This sounds a lot like the book of Enoch, when the sons of God, the angels, came to the earth in the time of Jared. Biblical timelines have calculated the time that Jared was born at around 3000